you everyone for joining us today. Happy to have Clark County Assessor Peter Van Nortwick and Jesse Manley, who is our Geographic Information System Coordinator for Clark County. Yeah, thank you guys very much for doing this course. I know I've played around with the GIS and it's a very interesting program and there's a lot of information there. So I will let you guys take it away.
All right, well, thank you. The first thing was kind of what we're going to do is I'm going to start sharing my screen. And while I do that, of course, all this other stuff pops up. So is everyone seeing my screen now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, okay, great. You know, you don't see yourself, you just see yourself on it. You don't see, it says you're sharing your screen, but you're never really sure. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go through a PowerPoint presentation, a little bit about GIS, and then we're going to have Jesse do a live demonstration. So the first thing is, how do you get to our GIS, or where to find maps online? And that's mainly what we're going to talk about today. So similar to when we did the presentation on the PIC, you go to gis.clark.wa.gov and you will come to this home screen. And then you will see that right there is a spot where you can click to go to Maps Online. The other way to do it is if you do get into the PIC and you are in the PIC, and anyone that missed our prior lunch and learn on the PIC, I believe it's still available out there on the Clark County Association of Realtors. But if you're there, you can see that there's Maps Online, and you can click there, and those are the two different ways that you can get to Maps Online. Now, when you click the down button for the Maps Online at that first screen, you will see that there's a number of just standard ones you can go to, like administrative boundaries, development review, environmental, land records, park and recreation, transportation system, zoning and comprehensive plan, and then of course the index of other site maps. So this is just the administrative boundaries, and if you go there, this is just a picture. You can see it shows the boundaries like the city of Vancouver, and then the urban growth boundaries, and Camas and its urban growth boundary, and Wachusett, and all the cities in their urban growth boundary. And as you can see down the line, there's just a lot of different options when you're on the GIS site for the administrative boundaries, school board or school districts, taxing district, electoral district, all those are available in that administrative boundaries line for the Maps Online. Then under development review, I just kind of highlighted here the environmental constraints area, but again, there's just a lot of different information out there, you know, tax law, history line, the environmental constraint, priority habitats, you know, soil and wetlands, all that different information is available within that development review. Then if you go to the zoning, and I just chose to show a zoning map, is you can pull up a maps and see all the different zoning districts. And when you pull that up, you know, it is color coded. There's a legend that shows you all of the different zoning districts and what they are. Then when you go to, you know, land records, it will show you some stuff on annexation, but mainly the kind of the one here is to see all the different tax lots and the building footprints, and you know, the different information that's there. One of the other things that you're always going to find on Maps Online is the aerial photos, and so I just brought this one up. As you can see, there is a great range of options of aerial photos. So for this example, this one here is from our 2020 aerial photos. And there's what the land looked like in 1968. And there's what it looks like if you chose the infrared, option. So when you go to Maps Online, just the first spot you go to, there's a lot of different information available. That's really pretty easy to find and get to. Oops. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Jesse and let him do a live demo with Maps Online and Jesse's work to bring up different things to show. So for that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and pass it over to Jesse. Well, one thing I should say, if you have questions, you either hold them to the end, or if you can put them in the chat box, where we'll be glad to answer any questions everyone has.
Great, thank you, Peter. Let's see here. Share my screen. All right, does everyone see the GIS homepage? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so of course, I'll do a little spiel about our department just because we do a lot here. One thing to just note is anytime you need any map data, where to find links to the Property Information Center, the PIC, or Maps Online, I would highly recommend you always go to the GIS homepage. There are links to everything we maintain, everything we sell, everything that we do, you can get to from the homepage. As Peter mentioned, links to Map Online over here on the left side of the screen can also be accessed from the PIC directly, or this nice Maps and Record menu up top here. You can get to a lot of our stuff right up here, including that. So I'm kind of going through a demo of, let's say you're working with a specific property and you want to understand more about it. I will start from the property information, the PIC, excuse me, but we will end up in the in Maps Online very fast. So I'm going to switch off my view. I'm going to act like I'm someone from the general public. I see a lot more behind the firewall than you folks would. So now we are Joe Public going to the Property Information Center. I've got an address that has a lot of fun issues around it, so we'll use them as our guinea pig for the demonstration. So we do a search here. I'm sure everyone's familiar with this. We now end up in the account tab of the PIC. I know most of you have already seen this. I'll do a quick overview of all this. Basically, the account tab is going to have everything from assessed values, sales history, links to the notice of values that get mailed out, and then a variety of administrative data, a lot of planning data, location information, utilities, things like that. Within here, this property exists within a known subdivision, and it has been an area that's been surveyed. So you've got links to the actual recorded documents that are associated with, like the plat. This would be here. You click here and you would go down. You can view a PDF or a TIFF image of that plat. Click on that. There it is. This is something you can download and print. It's the same stuff title companies would use for a title report. Go back out. We've got the surveys. These are the recorded surveys for this subdivision. Same idea. You can want to see a TIFF image or a PDF. Click on it. Here it is. Do what you will with it. Very handy tools. I'm trying to get the auditor's office to expose more of these recorded documents. Building tab. This is Peter's world. This is all the information the assessor collects. Great stuff about size, condition, all kinds of information about the building. There's photos of the building. There's a building sketch that the assessment staff, they maintain those. One important addition that we've recently added here is up here in the number of bedrooms. Number of bedrooms itself, anything that's blue, you can click on, there's a pop-up that'll come up. The number of bedrooms really represents what the assessor has on file for that building. Underneath it though, there's a number of bedrooms for the approved the septic system. So this is information that public health collects when the septic system is permitted. What we've seen in the last few years is homes are being sold. They've got a new number of bedrooms on file with the assessor, but unfortunately, that new number of bedrooms was not approved for the septic system that was installed before the renovations were done. And that can cause a big headache for the homeowner if they are trying to do any other permitting or development of the property. They literally have to get the septic system reapproved by public health for it's a capacity. If there's 6 bedrooms on the house and it was only permitted for the septic system for 4 bedrooms, they very well could have to modify the septic system to be able to take on the new capacity. So important information to note here. Our environmental tab, obviously it's the environmental constraints. A lot of information here. This particular property has many constraints, and all the constraints that are in here are actually derived from GIS layers. An important thing to note about the data here, this is all best available. This does not mean this is on the ground truth. We use a lot of data that comes from different sources around the state, county, region. We compile the best information we can get, but if you see wetlands being labeled as potential presence, that does not mean that there are literally wetlands on the lot. That means the indicators we have say that there could be, and this would be a trigger that further investigation is needed by our staff if some type of development activity is going to happen on the lot. We recently had an issue where a woman was being told by her realtor that she couldn't, or a realtor developer, I can't remember, excuse me, but she couldn't sell her lot because it said there was wetlands present on the PIC, which we were able to contact that group and let them know that that's incorrect. These are just indicators. That doesn't mean that there was a formal survey done and there's defined wetlands on that lot. Other information that shows up here comes from public health. That would be this lot has a well. So there's information about the well that you can look up on a public health site. There's also information about the septic system. This is all clickable links that can get you to the permits and the files associated with that septic system. The taxes tab is pretty obvious. It's the property tax history and current property tax statements for the lot, and you can click this to pay online. Pretty simple stuff. The auditor documents tab is an interesting one. This is all the recorded documents that are associated with this lot. And there are links to each document. However, it's not going to take you to the actual document. What you're going to get when you click on this is you're going to get routed to the recorded documents search page. Of course, there's this massive disclaimer you got to click through. But what it gives you, this is information about that specific document. And you can order a copy of this document using this information from the auditor's recording division. Get back to the PIC here. We have a documents miscellaneous tab. We have a internal document management system. Has a lot of different types of documents that community development, the assessor, and public health maintain for properties. Again, clickable links takes to the information. This is what's on file for the property. Go to the permits tab, same type of idea. The clickable links will take you to information about this specific record. Doesn't really take you to a formal document, but it's what community development maintains for the permits on this property. And then last but not least, there's the sales search. This is something the assessor's office maintains. The ability for the way the filter works and how it's about finding comparable properties for the property you're looking at. So very quick overview of the PIC. But what I wanted to get to here was, so you saw there's a lot of environmental constraints noted. Well, where are you going to be able to actually visualize this? This is where the link up here to Maps Online comes into play. Clicking on this link, it's going to route you to the land records map site for this particular property, and it's going to highlight that property. And you'll notice over here, it pops up with a little information panel that's very similar to the PIC. We like to keep this connection between the two systems. But you want to see some environmental constraints. Well, the best place to go to view that is going to be under the development review or environmental map sites. And those, you can get to those from clicking the map sites drop down in the upper right corner, or this map sites button that's over here on the left hand side. So I will take you to the development review. Development review is a good map site for you folks to be using. If there's any type of development work happening on a property, typically you're going to be required, or the homeowner is going to be required to purchase a developer packet from GIS and submit that with their permit application. The developer's packet is basically a group of predefined maps and data sheets that the permitting counter looks at to determine what type of surveys and things need to happen before they can permit whatever the person's trying to permit. The data that's used in the development or the developer's packet is all GIS based, and all of that GIS data is here under the development review map site. So we saw that there was wetlands potentially present. So we would go down through the environmental group under soils and wetlands, and I'm clicking on potential wetlands presence. And we should see some green appear here. Yep. So for our lot, we can see this, and we want to understand more about that. The best way to understand more about the wetlands data is click on the little eye next to the layer. That's the identify tool. Once you click that, you basically make that layer active. And now you can click on features within that layer, and you will get more information about them. It's going to cooperate. Of course, a live demonstration. There it is. So, of course, this is pretty minimal as far as the data that's going to display. It's telling me potential presence equals 1, which means a whole lot of nothing. The layer is one of these layers. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you see green, that means there's potential for wetlands to be present within those green boundaries. Let's see, other features we can show here. The geologic hazards is a good one. We've got severe erosion hazard areas. I'm going to clear. Okay, so one thing you saw, there's all this blue. That's because I selected the features here. I want to clear that so I can start exploring something else. So I'm going to go up top, click the clear graphics, clear the selection graphics, and hit that button. Now they're gone. Now I'm looking at severe erosion hazard areas. So here's our lot, and there's a couple pieces of this severe erosion hazard area that go in there. Again, clicking on identify, I want to know more about this feature here. So I click it and tells me, yeah, it's part of one of the hazard classes that our permitting counter looks at, and it gives me a data source of where that feature came from. So it's a recent soils layer. We'll clear the graphics one more time. Other stuff you can find here under development review that's handy. Utilities. I know you guys have a vested interest in understanding where storm, sanitary, water, stuff like that. Clark County GIS works with all the cities in Clark County to get their utility information. We try to keep things as current as possible. We don't have much control on the cities and how and when they provide things to us. But we do constantly try to improve that process so that we have current data. I can't tell you to completely rely on this, but it is a nice way to see what's out there and what could potentially be going on at the property. So it looks like we've got some sanitary lines outside of this property. We've got some storm lines around it. Should be some water lines within there. No. Okay, well, that That's a good reminder. This lot had wells and septic systems. So where do we find those? They're not under here. So a great way to find it, let's say find layer up here up top, and let's type in septic. Now we can go to, oh, the utilities map site. The nice thing about flipping between these map sites too is once you've zoomed into your location of interest, every time you flip map sites, your zoom is gonna be maintained. So you're not gonna lose that view that you're looking at. So here we are. Here's the septic system, septic systems that are on in this area. We're gonna go ahead and click the identify button, click on the septic dot that's on our lot, and now you've got a bunch of information about that. You can click into all these to get to the different documents associated with it. These are the same documents that are presented on the PIC. It's just another way to get to them. And we also got water wells here. I do need to note that the septic and water well locations, you'll notice they appear right on the same spot. And that's because everything's mapped to the center of the property. We don't have the actual location of where they are on the ground. We just know they're there. This data comes to us from public health, and the way it's tabulated in their database is by address. So the best we can do is place the dot on the address, which is the center of these property boundaries. This gets confusing for people. They tend to think there's a dot on the map, that's where it exists. But in these cases, that's not true. Let me see here. Other ways to do stuff in Maps Online. There's a lot of search functionality within Maps Online. We can, up top here in the ribbon, you've got an ability to find a parcel, street address or tax account. Again, you type it in, you hit find, it gives you some options, you click on one, and the map's going to zoom right to it. I can do a public service center where I work. Hit find, there it is, I click on it. Now I'm zoomed to it, and I got the same menu on the left that we started out with the previous property. The info tab up top. This is basically where you're going to get information about where to get help if you get stuck. Our map store is staffed 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. They're always monitoring this email box. If you run into an issue here, email them, they can help you out. We've also recently put out a lot of help videos and documents you can get to by clicking this, that they'll just walk you through the basics of how to use the PIC and Maps Online and where some of the advanced features are. Great resources there. Let's see what else here. So we had find parcel, we have locate address, type an address or intersection, locate it. The map's going to zoom to that location, put a little dot on the map. Same with find latitude, longitude. A lot of people are using GPS units. This is where you can enter information from your GPS and see it on the map. We've also got a nice print map. You can create a kind of a custom map. You can add a title and some notes to it. You can pick the different map sizes. You can pick different scales and the type of format and create it. Get a nice PDF view of what you're looking at on screen, something you can print out. And let's see. On the menu here below the ribbon, we've got a variety of tools. They have nice little tooltip pop-ups, real basic navigation stuff, zoom, pan, go out to the county boundary, different extents. There's the clear graphics, the identify. Identify up here is different than the identify under the layers list. When you click the identify up here and go and click on the map, it's going to do an identify on every layer that's currently turned on. In this case, tax lots is the only thing turned on. But if I was to turn on something else, I guess building footprints is on. Oh. Let's try roads. How about that? Should give me information on everything that's under what I'm clicking. Of course, I picked a bad site. Anyway, I don't use this tool much because it can be kind of confusing, but some people like it. We also have different types of ways you can select. You can select by a point. You can draw lines, different types of polygons, things like that. just different ways to select features within a map. We've also got these, these print and markup tools, variety of things you can play around with here that help you do more with the map.
So maybe Jesse, just show them how you can measure like different distances with the
Yeah.
measure tool.
So measure tool, go here, click your line, and it'll give you all kinds of information about that line. There's also, this is a polygon. Start drawing like that. Now you're going to get area and perimeter information. You can also click here and you can understand what the latitude and longitude of a location are. There's a lot of stuff here. This is very GIS centric stuff. Measuring, zooming, panning, that's all very handy stuff for you guys as well. And we've even added the National Weather Service report at a specific location. I wonder if this even works. Well, it sure does. There you go. You got your weather report for that spot. Pretty handy. Other than that, so this is the basic overview of Maps Online. We do offer subscriptions. I'm going to go back to our homepage. We offer 2 different subscriptions that may be of interest to you. If you go to our map store and tech support, it lists all the different things you can buy from us or download for free. There are some free options down here. We have 2 subscriptions. We have the premium GIS website subscription and the unofficial auditor document subscription. The unofficial auditor document subscription is going to, if you can remember that search results page that we were looking at for the documents that we saw on the pick, what the subscription will give you is a login that will actually allow you to view a watermarked unofficial copy of any recorded document that's on file. This has been a very popular subscription in the last couple of years. It just allows you to get to things fast without having to wait for the auditor to provide, official copies that cost additional money. I don't think their fees are all that cheap these days. I think they recently went up. So this is a handy way to see something if you're interested about, a recorded document. We've also got the premium GIS website. What this does is this grants you the same thing as the auditor document subscription, but it also grants you a lot of other stuff within the PIC and Maps Online. The help videos and documents go into a lot of detail about the different features you get here. This is $600 a year, and it's very popular. We have numerous subscribers within the county and beyond. The auditor document subscription is $100 per year, so it's a bit cheaper. But a couple options that you have there. Developers packet, you can buy these online right here with the credit card. Pretty simple thing. Required for a lot of permitting activities. I will show you. This is what it looks like. It's 18 pages long. It's pretty basic up front with some location maps, but it gets really into detail fast. Here's a lot of information you see on the PIC, organized a little bit differently. Again, this is something that the permitting counter requires that we submit. There's specific maps for utilities, elevation, aerial photography, environmental constraints, zoning, a lot of, basically a map view of the PIC for that property. And these are $50. And again, it's something that's typically required for permitting. The mailing labels, that's something that for notification purposes, if you need to do some kind of mailing to an area about development that's going on, you can buy a mailing label packet online. I think they're $10, I believe, pretty cheap. And what you end up with is a list of the properties that are within the boundary you set, and then formatted sheet that it's the labels, the mailing labels that you would print out on the sticker sheet and then actually glue to a excuse me, envelopes and mail out. Other than that, the last.
You want to talk about the limitations on mailing labels, though?
Yeah. So there is an RCW out there where these can't be used for commercial purposes. So there is, when you go to buy online, you do have to say yes, I understand. I read this RCW and we can't use this to do soliciting. It's really more for notification of like development activities. So you have to click accept before you can actually purchase this thing. So yeah, that's it's an honor system. I don't think there's much we can do to prevent folks from using this for bad purposes. But again, we hope that folks, by having to read through this, that they recognize that, yeah, it's not legal to use this to solicit business. And last but not least, we are in the business now of we have a lot of public records requests that come through the county. And we have a vested interest in making sure that data we maintain that can be made available to the public is made available to the public by default. And we've created it's called an open data hub. It's a new concept with GIS. Basically, this is a page where you can download a variety of maps and GIS data that we maintain. And also we've added a version of the Assessor's property assessment and treasure database here that has years worth of information in it. One caveat to the property assessment and treasure database is we cannot, as part of an RCW that's in the note here, we can't provide property owner names or mailing addresses within this. So that's been extracted from the data before it's posted here. But you can download this. It's a group of tables that you can import into any database system. There's metadata about every table here, what's within them. This is very popular with the different development that's happening around the county. There's a lot of people downloading that data left and right. We have a bulk package of our most popular GIS layers. If you have folks that are doing GIS work, they can download this stuff. It's updated every week. There's a mountain of data in there. We used to sell GIS data on DVDs. Those DVDs are now this download. It's 2 zip files download. They're full of different shape files that folks like to have. And again, they're updated every week. You can download the entire set of quarter section maps. These are maps that you can get, but you can view on Maps Online and the PIC. They're also pretty popular with title reports. This clicking in here and downloading it gets you the entire county. And again, these are updated every week. Scrolling down, you see the data categories. This is where you'd actually get into GIS data. So here's surface elevation contours. You click into here and you'll have a variety of download options. This obviously doesn't get updated very often, but there are other layers within the Explore data categories, like land records is a great one. Tax lots for public use. So every day our land record staff is updating property boundaries around the county, and every week those updates are added to our master tax lots layer. And then of course it's put out here, the open data hub, so that you can download it and use it on your own GIS system. We have some interactive maps and applications. These are interesting because they're using our new technology called Portal. Portal is the next generation of GIS for the web. And like Maps Online is going to be based out of Portal within the next couple of years. Very user-friendly applications, very easy to understand and use. I'd encourage you to take a look at them. We're starting to embed these type of applications on more and more county web pages. Very simple map viewers, but very powerful as well. And they work really well on mobile devices, which is a big step up for us. And then down here, just links to our different stuff that we've already kind of gone over: help videos, the PIC, Maps Online. Last but not least, we have a web page called Quick Maps. Here's some of the most popular maps that we have. Click here, you can see the whole map catalog. These are what we call maps of record. These are printable, downloadable PDFs. You can search up here, let's say zoning. And it's filtered out everything that would have zoning or planning involved with it. So comp plan, zoning, we've got city specific all the way to the entire county. You click on one here, it launches a new page, and here's the PDF. And They're large. These are mostly poster size maps. The map size is indicated in the file name. In this case, it's 36 inches by 48 inches. These are made to print large, so you can put them on your wall and do what you will with them. We like to have these out there because we used to charge people for every little thing like this, and we don't need to do that anymore. We just put the stuff out here. These maps are all, we have a process that runs and updates all these maps once per month. So I would encourage you to take a look through here if you're interested in some kind of maps, hard copy maps for your walls or working as a team with your teams or whatever. I think that's about it for me. Yeah, I've gone over everything on my list. So I'm going to quit sharing my screen.
Awesome.
So the only thing I'd like to add to what kind of Jesse said is when we go onto a map, let's say you zoom in on a particular parcel and you do the measurement from the side of the house to the fence line or the side of the yard or whatever for setbacks. Everything that we do in there, they're estimates. You still have to, you know, if you really want to know exactly where that property line is, you still got to get a survey. You just can't go to GIS site and go, oh, there the line says that this fence is on our property, and so therefore we get to tear it down. Now, before you go tear that fence down, we would suggest that you go and get an actual survey and find out exactly where the property line goes. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Jesse, or.
Yeah, that's an important thing to note. Our land records group gets hounded almost daily about fence line questions. Folks look at maps online, they zoom into their property, turn on the most recent aerial photo and the tax lot lines. While that looks very authoritative because the lines are thin and they're over an aerial photo, they come from two different platforms. We buy all our aerial photography through a state imagery consortium. That's all produced and captured by a vendor who uses their own survey control to make sure the photo shows up in the right area space. Our land records group maps all the property boundaries using their own control. So there's two different sources, and while when you overlay them, they are fairly accurate, we like to tell people that really it's probably plus or minus 10 feet for what you see on the map. You really have to have a surveyor go out to establish where those property lines are. Our tools are just meant to be a reference. They are not meant to be the end all say all authoritative spot where things are on the ground. Unfortunately, folks use the data incorrectly and spend a lot of money building fences, and they have to end up tearing them down. So there is a disclaimer on our site that goes over all this. It's a bit hidden, but you got to remember that everything we present is for reference purposes, and it's the best available data, but it is not by any means survey quality.
With that being said, did you guys want me to open it up to some questions if anybody has any?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. If anybody has questions, you're able to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask anything that you would like. All right.
Well, if you do have any questions, you can always find contact information for our land records group and our map store folks on the county GIS homepage. We're always available to answer questions or help people troubleshoot issues. We also have all those help videos and documents out there. You're trying to figure out where things are on the PIC or Maps Online. I'd highly recommend you take a look at those. They're presented as a video, and they're also presented as a downloadable PDF. So sometimes using those PDFs can really help people work through training or just understanding where things are, like using them as like a checklist.
And like I say, I just shared my screen so you can see both of our email addresses if you have questions. Because I know a lot of times you're like, I don't have any questions right now, but you know, you may have a transaction next week, right? And all of a sudden it's like, ooh, I remember they talked about something that was similar to that. And then it, it comes to the forefront. So anytime we do these lunch and learns, we're just trying to build general knowledge and give you an idea that when you run into specific issues on a specific transaction, maybe where to go look and, who to contact.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's a great resource. So with that said, if anybody doesn't have any questions, we are a little early, so that's great. Yeah, if that's it, go ahead and everybody log out and have a wonderful day and take care. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate your presentation.
All right, thank you anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.